is Senator Alex Padilla of California. Senator Padilla, welcome back to the Sunday Show.
Good to see you again, Jonathan.
So could you just please talk about or explain to us why it is so difficult to get 10 Republicans to overcome the filibuster to allow for something that should be not a partisan commission, but a patriotic commission?
Exactly, Jonathan. And speaking of patriotism, right, can't help but appreciate the timing of what's going on here as we're beginning to commemorate Memorial Day tomorrow, when we honor as a nation the so many members of the military who paid the ultimate sacrifice in defense of our nation and in defense of our democracy. To think that we cannot, on a bipartisan basis, establish a bipartisan commission to get to the root of what happened on January 6th. And I want to make it clear to all the viewers, the structure of the commission as proposed was modeled after the bipartisan commission established after 9/11. I mean, imagine if after 9/11, the prevailing notion was, well, as long as we beef up airport security, we would have addressed the problem. Of course not. It was much more complex than that, just as the root of January 6th. And, in my mind, what other example can we possibly need to finally get rid of the filibuster?
And speaking of that, let's have a listen to your Senate colleague, Senator Joe Manchin of West Virginia, and what he had to say when asked about the filibuster.
Would you be willing to break the filibuster in order to get this passed? The flaming
I'm not ready to destroy our government. I'm not ready to destroy our government. No, I think that they will come together. You have to have faith. There's 10 good people.
How frustrating is it for you to see Republicans line up in opposition to this?
It's frustrating to say this, I will tell you. There was a lot of negotiations, and the leadership of the Democrats on both the House and the Senate have agreed to the recommendations that were made to make the adjustments. There's no excuse for a Republican not to vote for this unless they don't want to hear the truth.
And yet, Senator Padilla, only 6 Republicans voted for it, and the commission went down in a ball of flames. Those questions about the filibuster were about the January 6th commission, but those questions about the filibuster are going to keep coming up as more and more legislation comes to the floor. Why is it so difficult, do you think, to get Senator Manchin from this belief that ending the filibuster would destroy the government to the point where ending the filibuster is what's going to be needed to get things done?
Yeah, well, I think he said it pretty plainly. He was convinced there would be 10 good people on the other side of the aisle that would do the right thing. So he took a vote, and he got his answer. We keep getting asked, what else can you do to work on a bipartisan basis? What else can you do to work on a bipartisan basis? And we keep trying. We'll keep trying. The question is really for Republicans when they're going to be ready to work on a bipartisan basis, because we keep hearing no. And what we keep seeing is a party that is choosing loyalty to Trump over truth and democracy.
I want to get your reaction to something that a member of Congress on the other side of the Capitol in the House, Congressman Matt Gaetz, this is element 1 for the control room. And here's what he had to say about the Second Amendment.
We have a Second Amendment in this country, and I think we have an obligation to use it. The Second Amendment is not about hunting, it's not about recreation, it's not about sports. The Second Amendment is about maintaining within the citizenry the ability to maintain an armed rebellion against the government if that becomes necessary. I hope it never does.
Senator Padilla, just your reaction to what you just heard.
Yeah. Sadly, not shocked. Jonathan, look what just happened. The former president of the United States invited and incited a riot on January 6th. There was an impeachment trial. Republicans let him off the hook. Not enough good people on the other side to vote to convict. So that's behind us. We still need to get to the root of what happened. We proposed a bipartisan commission to investigate January 6th. Not 10 good souls on the other side to vote to establish a bipartisan commission. So it serves as an incentive for this kind of language. And we've seen what this kind of language can lead to, a deadly insurrection in our nation's capital. What more evidence could you possibly need? I also got to tell you, it's the timing, not just as we prepare to commemorate Memorial Day, but look what just happened in the Texas State House this last week. They're actively, aggressively pushing laws that make it harder to vote, but undo gun safety laws, common sense gun safety laws. You know, we had a tragic shooting in California this last week, a tragic shooting in the last 24 hours in Miami Beach, more across the country that don't get the news attention that these high-profile events have, and it's because of language like this, because Republican Party chooses loyalty over Trump and the conspiracy theories over truth and our democracy.
Senator Alex Padilla of California, we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you very much for coming back to the Sunday Show.